The dusk swelled, orange and angry, mirroring the turmoil in Maeve's stomach. She couldn't breathe, not because of the dust, but because of the words echoing in her head. You don't belong here. A brick hurled through the window of the small clapboard house she now called home, shattering the fragile piece she'd painstakingly built. Maeve stared at the jagged hole, each shard of glass a tiny, glittering accusation. She'd come to Havenwood seeking solace, a place to escape the cacophony of the city, a place to finally understand the whispers of her own heart. But Havenwood, it seemed, had other ideas. She found herself in a town stuck in the past, a town where the shadows of prejudice lingered long and heavy. Maeve, a young black woman with a spirit as fiery as her crimson lipstick, was a jarring note in their carefully orchestrated symphony of sameness. She inhaled slowly, each breath a battle against the rising tide of fear. This wasn't the first incident. There had been the muttered slurs, the pointed stares, the deliberate snubs at the local market. Maeve had tried to ignore them, to rise above the pettiness. She'd reasoned that ignorance was a disease and she wouldn't let it infect her. But the brick was different. It was a blatant declaration, a line drawn in the sand. It was a test. Would she crumble? Would she retreat? Or would she stand her ground? She thought of her grandmother, Nana Esther, a woman who had weathered storms that would have broken lesser souls. Nana Esther, who had taught her the power of resilience, the importance of knowing who you are, even when the world tries to tell you otherwise. Nana Esther's voice echoed in her memory, clear and strong. Baby girl, you are made of starlight and steel. Don't let nobody dim your light. Maeve straightened her shoulders, her gaze hardening. She wouldn't run, she wouldn't hide, she would fight. Not with anger, not with hatred, but with the quiet strength that had been passed down through generations. The next morning, Maeve went to the town square. She set up a small table adorned with vibrant fabrics and handcrafted jewelry, pieces she had painstakingly created in her spare time. She called her stall Echoes of Heritage. Each piece told a story of her ancestors, a story of resilience, a story of hope. The townsfolk eyed her with suspicion. Some hurried past, averting their gazes. Others lingered, curiosity warring with prejudice in their eyes. A young boy, no older than 10, tugged at his mother's skirt, pointing at a brightly colored necklace. The mother, her face edged with disapproval, pulled him away. Maeve felt a familiar sting of rejection, but she refused to let it extinguish her fire. She smiled, a genuine warm smile that reached her eyes. She began to speak, her voice clear and strong, telling stories about the origins of her crafts, the meaning behind the symbols, the history woven into each thread. Slowly, tentatively, people began to listen. An elderly woman, her face weathered and lined, stopped to admire a beaded bracelet. A young man, his eyes filled with the thirst for knowledge, asked about the significance of a particular pattern. Maeve answered their questions with patience and grace, sharing her knowledge, her passion, her heart. Days turned into weeks. Echoes of Heritage became a fixture in the town square. People started to see Maeve not as an outsider, but as a person, a talented artist with a story to tell. They learned about her family, her dreams, her struggles. They learned that beneath the color of her skin, they were not so different after all. One evening, as Maeve was packing up her stall, a man approached her. He was a tall, imposing figure, his face etched with regret. He was the father of the boy who had been pulled away that first day. He apologized, his voice thick with shame. He confessed that he had been wrong, blinded by his own prejudices. He admitted that he had even been part of the group that had thrown the brick through her window. Meg listened, her heart aching with a mixture of sadness and understanding. She knew that forgiveness wouldn't erase the past, but it could pave the way for a better future. She extended her hand, her touch gentle but firm. We all make mistakes, she said. The important thing is that we learn from them. The man shook her hand, his grip tight. He bought the brightly colored necklace his son had admired, promising to teach him about its beauty and its meaning. Maeve continued to face challenges in Havenwood. Prejudice didn't vanish overnight, but she had planted a seed of understanding, a seed of empathy, a seed of hope. She knew that change wouldn't come easily, but she was determined to cultivate it, one interaction at a time. one story at a time, one act of kindness at a time. Shortly afterwards, one of our children and Susanna, on the way to work, Nikhil and she put Anani aside, who people started to embrace their differences, realizing that diversity was not a threat. She joined the town council, advocating for diversity and inclusion. Slowly, Havenwood began to transform. The shadows of the past began to recede, replaced by a glimmer of hope. People started to embrace their differences, recognizing that diversity was not a threat but a strength. Maeve never forgot the brick that had been thrown through her window. It served as a constant reminder of the challenges she faced, but it also served as a symbol of her resilience. She kept a shard of the broken glass on her desk, a tangible reminder of the darkness she had overcome and the light she had helped to create. Years later, Maid stood in the town square, surrounded by a crowd of people. They had gathered to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Echoes of Heritage. The square was filled with music, laughter, and the aroma of delicious food from all corners of the world. As she looked out at the faces in the crowd, Maeve felt a deep sense of peace. Havenwood was no longer a town defined by prejudice and fear. It was a town defined by acceptance, by understanding, by love. And she, Maeve, the woman who had once been told she didn't belong, had played a part in its transformation. She had become a beacon of hope, a symbol of resilience, a testament to the power of the human spirit. She belonged. She was home, and her light shone brighter than ever before.